podcast there. I don't have to listen to it.
This week's show because it was a disaster.
When you live in a beach resort, it's easy to forget whether you are playing or working. On each week's show, we settle in with a cocktail and try to figure out if there is a difference. This is Day Drinking on Delmarva.
And I am Todd from GoodCleanFunLife.com.
I'm Tony Russo, no relation, and you're listening to Day Drinking on Delmarva, social media therapy for two guys who've just had a time of it. I don't know. I shouldn't have tried to change it without thinking about it first, but that's my thing. I'll try a different one every week until I remember it from week to week. How does that sound?
Right. And I'll say once again, as I do on a probably monthly basis for the past 4 years, I need to do a new intro.
Yeah. Before it looks like our children did the... But it's also a nice little... If you're not watching on video, we have there's a video that goes with the introductory music. Mm-hmm. And you can see me getting older and fatter, but not with a beard or anything. So now that my hair is long, I look almost completely like a different person. Yeah. And I look like I'm in a studio as opposed to in a single dad's apartment or whatever I had going on.
Divorced dad vibes.
Yeah, seriously. Lots of stuff we're going to get to this week. Actually, one thing I think we're going to get into this week, because I think it affects us both, and it has affected us both. I do want to say that I will say this again when it actually comes out, but I was just invited on my first death care podcast. So we're sponsored by a local business that we like. This time the local business is me. Visit me at ondeathcare.com, where I cover all things about the funeral industry and the death doula movement. Well, not all things about the death doula movement, but I'm getting into that more and more. And I was just invited on a podcast, and the funeral industry has essentially the same trouble that a lot of your clients have. And this is the show I was on last night, and this is what I wanted to talk about before the show I was on last night. So this fits perfectly. When you get information about marketing, and when you get information about the changes in the algorithm and social media and stuff like that, it's really like, this is how Coca-Cola is solving it. You know, these are how big brands are dealing with the death of SEO. And, you know, for funeral directors, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't. Yeah. The internet is now built for national and multinational brand discovery. And if you're not a national or multinational brand, it's really hard to fit in. Right. And one of the things go ahead.
I love that all of the, like even some of the marketing creators who like to point out things. They're like, do what Liquid Death has done. Like, well, they're a huge company, and they are edgy and took risks, and they changed the landscape of things. But like just to be like, do what they do is doesn't fit into the same category.
Well, and also it's important to have an end game. And this is one of the things that they talked about on that podcast. I'm sorry, I only heard the beginning of the podcast, so I'm making up a lot of this.
Yeah, perfect.
But, you know, they're talking about these larger brands are actually now programming like their television shows. Yeah. Yeah. You know, that's like a big thing to do. A favorite brand of mine, Titan Caskets, does that. They have a show called, I forget the name of the show, but it stars David Desmalchin, and he's in a casket interviewing famous people. It's like let's talk about death or something like that. But it's, you know, rather than spend a fortune on magazine ads or whatever, you know, they hired someone to run a YouTube show, and that is their thing. Yeah, and that is probably the future for a lot of brands, you know. Yeah. And Titan's not a huge brand. They're a tiny brand, but they're, I'm sorry, comparatively a tiny. They're not tiny like one building. You know, they're not a restaurant tiny. Yeah. But they're a small brand, and this is a way that they've been successful. And you wonder how much, like, as I'm saying this out loud, that would be a good, like, if, like, you have the Dewey Raw, right?
Yeah.
And if Do We Raw were like more episodic, like this, like, you know, this week we're doing this week we're doing that, this week, like, and next time on Do We Raw we're doing this, next time on Do We Raw,
Right.
people actually apparently stop and look for that kind of thing.
Right.
And so that's the first little marketing bit that I wanted to talk about, was this idea that you have to be. People have accepted. This is what they said on that show, and it wasn't easy for me to hear. People have accepted ads, like it's not something that people shy away from anymore. So now they just judge them. Like, I will watch your ad if it doesn't bore me,
Right.
and if it bores me, I will not watch it. Like, interest me, and I guess it always should have been like this, but it's the interest that's the important part, and that's the thing that gets missed.
And just to kind of authenticity, I always preach is kind of like the most important thing. Not the most, but one of the most important things. And you know, and that's where the intersection of AI as slop versus as a tool to help, you know, is tough. There's a recent meme, and it came to real life last night, where a friend of ours is in a motorcycle club, and they were having an event, and the event flyer was made and posted purely in AI, and you know, and Natalie maybe had a couple glasses of wine, but notwithstanding, decided to message our friend who posted this and be like, listen, you know, photographers, you like, and I was even to the point, I was like, use clip art or you know, use a stock photo, not clip art, but because at least somebody is getting a few nickels for that. And, you know, it's not like, you know, people will be like, oh, that's inauthentic. That's not anybody here. But at least there's something on the creative end that somebody can identify with and connect with.
Well, this ties into something that I wanted to talk about, and you also mentioned, so I want to get into it. The other thing that they mentioned on this podcast briefly before I turned it off because I had other things to do, and I'll listen to the rest of it and report back as necessary. Actually, I'll put a link to the show, to the podcast in. It's called The Rebooting, and it's hosted by a guy who used to be the editor of Adweek, and it's just all about the changes in media from week to week. It's a great show. Always interesting, always, you know, but he talks to big deal marketers and big deal publishers about, you know, the changing media landscape. But this notion about the intern does the social media, you know, that's kind of an old thing, and it's not really even true anymore. Like, even brands don't really think the intern should be in charge of social media, but they think something even dumber now, which is anyone can use AI to do the work of multiple people. And they're like, well, everyone says you could just use AI to do this. You could just use AI to do that. Yeah, if you know how. Like, you have to know how to. AI is a great tool. Like, a buzzsaw is a dumb tool to give me because I don't know what the fuck to do with it. If you give me a buzzsaw, I'm going to the hospital. Or I'm going to pawn it or something, right? But I'm not going to say, oh, I'm going to set this buzzsaw out in my shed and I'm going to get an axe and I'm going to chop down the pine tree outside and I'm going to start making Tony's artisanal boards, right? No, no one would think that. But they're like, he's young. Give this kid the AI and tell him that he's the new in charge of all the marketing, right? Because he can produce a ton of stuff very fast.
Yeah.
He can't produce anything good, even slow, but a ton of stuff very fast. And it's grossing people out. Like, thank God. Thank God it's grossing people out, or otherwise I would absolutely be screwed. But that's the myth that I think a lot of, especially small businesses, fall for, which is this, well, you know, we don't need a real marketing type person. We don't need to hire a professional. Or if we hire a professional, they should be able to do the work of 3 professionals because of AI. How?
Yeah.
Oh, because AI. That's like it's like the underpants nose, right?
Yeah.
It's like
I love that.
It's like hire someone and make them use AI, question mark, and then profit, right? What
And
the
then-
question mark is, they don't know. They don't care. That's
Yeah.
what they hired the person to use AI for, is to fill in the question mark. But I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah, well, and it ends up being a scenario that we've seen in certain aspects where it's like, don't just be checking a box, right? And this falls into, for us in restaurants that we work a lot with, it for a long time, and they've gotten away from this, I think. But it's like, oh, just have the hostess do something, and like,
Yeah.
because she's the youngest girl and she's just standing up at the front, have her,
Take
do
a
what
picture of the
specials are.
sandwich board.
Yeah, and it's just not it's not something that has the end game in mind, and like I said, it's just checking the boxes, and even to the extent of having a young person intern type just doing trending videos. Like the trends serve a purpose, right? And I've talked about this, proselytized about this a lot. It's like you should be thinking about the look and feel and totality of your brand on all platforms, which all platforms may be, subtly different depending on your brand, and and the big picture should be taken into effect. Now, if you do something that's popular and you get more eyes on your brand, that's great. But then again, if you're not getting the engagement, what's that actually worth? And I don't ever want to have to explain to a sales CM, officer, CO, about the return on investment for marketing. It's like that's always been the crux of the problem. Is like they want to say, well, what's the direct through line to money? And it's like there isn't.
I just wrote about that, and so
Did you?
yes, for my funeral column, because so there's a famous quote. I think you've heard it before. I think I've said it to you before. It's I know that half of my advertising budget is wasted. I just don't know which half.
Which half? Yeah.
Right.
Right.
The problem is, I mean, I don't mind dissing salespeople because I don't know very many of them. But the problem is that salespeople not only they've not been very honest with their customers for too long. And so what happens is, and podcasting has secretly ruined this, and now it's starting to kind of bleed out, right? Like, so when I worked for the Bayside Gazette, this is a great example, right? When I worked for the Bayside Gazette, they were like, okay, you should take an ad out in the Bayside Gazette because it's delivered to all 10,000 homes in Ocean Pines. Mm-hmm. How many people read it? No way to tell. Yeah. Nope, it's in front of every door, and that's the best they could do. And then these SEO marketers came along, and they're like, we can tell you exactly how many people saw the ad, and we can tell you exactly how many people clicked on the ad. We can tell you exactly how many people interacted with the ad, and it's in the millions. And I don't know if you've seen this or not, but last year there was a big scandal, and now it's like a regular thing where we're finding out that, it was mostly bots. It's been mostly bots the whole time. It's like an M. Shyamalan night movie, right? Actually, 12 people have seen your video, but 90,000 bots also took your video and cataloged it. And so the problem with podcasts is you genuinely can tell. Like, it's not YouTube where you watch the first 12 seconds and it counts as a view. It's not Facebook where if it's on your computer at one time, it counts as a view. This is how many people took the time to listen to this show, and the numbers are terrifying. Like the numbers are like, what do you mean, like 70 people? What do you mean? What do you mean 10,000 people? I'm paying for 3 million eyes, and you're telling me 10,000 people are the only ones who downloaded this? Yeah. Well, 10,000 people isn't worth as much because I thought it was going to be 3 million people. True. However, the 3 million person was always a lie. It's always been a lie. And that is what people are starting to realize now. And they're like, well, what does a click cost? Really? A hell of a lot more than you think.
It's like impressionflation, right?
Impressionflation. That's a great word.
The and it started with the with the newspapers on the doorsteps. Like this is how many it's delivered to. I knew this when we were in the radio.
Right.
Racket.
We have
and
7,000, according to Nielsen, 10,000 people are listening to us. How many people listen to your ad? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why Google. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It just I feel like, and then with the advent of Google Ads and that sort of thing, and like Facebook, obviously they've admitted to years ago manipulating the numbers for views and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And because those numbers from legacy media were so high, it's like, oh well, these numbers should be higher because it's we're removing any friction of somebody seeing the ad because it's right on their screen that's right in front of their face, and so these numbers should be more astronomical, and they're not. I mean, they're
because they never, and exactly, and it's just they never should have been. What's a really good measure is now Google has this thing where you can pay per click on your telephone number. Oh. And it's like $1.50 or $3 or something. But someone clicks and the phone call goes through. That is probably, if you're a plumber, that is worth $3, right? Yeah. It's not worth $3 to be on top of the page.
Right.
It's not worth $3 to be in the game. It's worth $3 to get the phone call. And that is where it's trickier for small businesses than for large businesses because you have to risk spending real money to get real results as opposed to spending kind of real money to get completely fake results.
Right.
And it's a weird place to be. And, I think that the more I think about it, because I was going to poo-poo the whole television aspect of it, the whole, like, let's program this, let's make this a regular show that people are into. And now I'm thinking, you know what? No, that might not be as dumb as I thought it was because at least that's a good way to stay top of mind,
Yeah. And it's one of those things for me personally, I've always been able to have the advantage of with it, like, for instance, the Starboard or even Freeman Stage, where you have these events and you just capture the event. And then I've built my business on putting together something that helps a viewer feel like they were there if they weren't there, or reminisce about being there if they were. It's very much a feel good thing. But the more that I'm doing some like pre-programming stuff or some pre-production stuff, and like actually having an idea and wanting to get these shots and wanting to do some of the legwork up front, it makes the post-production go much faster. And
right.
So, like you're talking with the programming in terms of similar to television, that would be something that I'd really like to start doing with Dewey Raw, for instance, or, we've talked about doing something similar on our show too. It's like, let's, instead of just jumping on, it's like, what happened to you this week? Well, this happened. All right, let's talk about it. I mean, we always have, I think, a lot to say and oftentimes insightful, not always, but I think the more pre-programming, pre-production,
the better.
Like, and I think that's a muscle that I'm going to need to develop a bit more.
Well, there are two things. Two things we can do for that. Two things that I was thinking about doing for that, but we'll talk about them off air for a change. Because it's tricky. We can talk about them in the next time. But the other thing that I wanted to kind of get at was, so all right, those are all the problems. Like, what are some of the solutions? And when I was talking about, so my big thing, and this is good for funeral business, it's harder for restaurant business for sure. But in the funeral business, one of the things that is a little bit easier to get is earned media. So you get the television station, you get the newspaper to do a story about you because of X, Y, or Z, and with the funeral business, if you time it right, like, and no offense intended to my friends in Ocean City, where they're like, well, you should do a story on our original Orange Crush or whatever, right? I can't help it. It just sticks in my craw so much.
Yeah.
But like when something happens, what I've been saying is, if there's a national story about death, that's when the funeral director can reach out to the local news and say, hey, just so you know, in the funeral industry, this is really what happens, or stuff like that. And that's something that people are interested in, right? And it's not chasing clicks in as much as it's saying, all right, this is something that a lot of people don't talk about, and a lot of people don't know about, and a lot of people are interested in. And if you can find that part to talk about, that's the most important. And the other huge thing is, people who talk about trying to go viral. I mean, if you're a funeral home, you don't need to go viral. You don't need 10 million views. People aren't going to come from Arkansas to be buried by you because they liked your TikTok video, right?
Yeah.
You need to get the 20,000 people who live closest to you to know who you are. Hi, this is me. I'm an honest person. You should let me bury your grandma. Pow, pow, pow.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the vertical videos can do very, very well. Just, hi, this is me. This is what I'm doing today, and so if you were doing it at a restaurant, you don't need the coat check girl, no offense intended to the coat check girl. You need the chef, you need one of the bartenders to say, I'm setting up drinks for tonight. I'm hoping, tonight I think I'm going to make a lot of pina coladas, so I got extra coconut milk. I'm going to make a lot of orange crushes, a lot of original orange crushes, so I've got a lot of oranges all teed up here. Something very simple and straightforward can really make a difference as far as reaching out to people and getting the right kind of notice. You don't need to do that to the day's TikTok song, right? I mean, because you don't need people in Bangladesh following you. I mean, it doesn't hurt, but it's not your goal. Like, if you want to start with a return on investment, you have to have a goal. Like, how many people near me? How many people do I want to see this and come in? So, well, you don't want to try to get everyone in Bangladesh then, if the goal is to get people to come through the door at the starboard, unless the Bangladeshi national team is going to be staying in Dover during the World Cup or whatever.
Yeah, and it is one of those things, sort of the anti-viral, which ends up being, for me, a little bit anti-trend, which is why I would rather create my own trends. And it's just a vicious cycle because you get looped in. It's like, oh, this is actually a cute idea. This is good. This would work well with our personality for our business. But then you scroll and you see two other businesses who've done the same thing, and you're like, well, okay, so all right, so they did it and they did it a little different. But now I've seen it 3 times and it's lost its luster. And we had a clip on the Starboard that our girl Izzy, who's the full-time person over there, did, and it went skyrocketing. It was 300,000 views and stuff like that. But then that is always when the engagement, people actually commenting and tagging their friends and being like, we should go. We're going to be in this area next week. We need to stop by. And that's when the shit starts to go south, and you get people just being nasty. And now I'm a pretty sensitive guy, but online I realize that anything that's really nasty, for the most part, are somebody who doesn't understand the complexity of the situation, or a bot,
Right.
And so you can't be too upset about what people are saying. But then it's an exercise in futility, because you have all of these views, like you said, the views from Bangladesh, but what does that actually mean if it's not related to the end game?
Right. And so I don't know if I have a solution, but I'm going to start to explore this idea of next week we're going to do this, and next time we're going to do this, and things that people need to see.
Yeah.
just in general. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I think that we're kind of coming up against it. So let's call it a day, because I don't want to start this new topic.
Just yet.
We can talk about maybe doing it next week. Do you have anything? Is there anything else that you needed to say?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, until next
no, actually,
time.
I'm
Please.
sorry. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. My 2 minutes piece. This is
please.
as close as I'll get to a rant.
All right.
If you want advice on social media, and you want to ask your friend who's the expert, realize that their time is valuable, and the longer time that they have been doing it and the more experience that they have doing it, the more valuable that time is. So having lunch and picking your brain to find out about doing social media for your small business is, happy to be done. But buy a guy lunch, Don't cheap out on, I'd like to know everything about you think about this particular topic, but I want to, come meet you on your porch and do it. I'm
such a sucker. Do you know how many podcasts I've started for people who did one episode? 10,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's tough because I like to share information, and I like being a big shot. You know me. I like when people are like, "Tony, how should things go?" Oh, let me tell you. And then the next thing you know, you're just it's like, "Oh, this guy will just really give you a quick education for free, and remain poor while you take his idea and make something useful out of it because you're more of a go-getter."
Yeah.
So no, that's tough. That's tough.
Yeah.
I haven't had the courage yet, but I'm going to start when people comment on things online. I've stopped returning the comments. So like if I post, if one of my posts is, getting a lot of traction and doing a lot of conversation, I'll let it go. But I want to start to say, you know what? Why don't we talk about this on my website where I get paid? I don't work, I don't work for Facebook. Like if you guys want to fight about it on Facebook, that's fine. If you want to fight about it on Death Care, that's better.
That's better.
Because I need you to habituate yourself into going there. But when they fight about it on Facebook, at least Facebook is more likely to show my stuff. So it's an up and down kind of thing. So that's tough though. Yes, take someone out.
Also, I'm not an expensive date. Buy me the place's original Orange Crush. Yeah.
I will take a cheap beer, but just for being asked, I've had a lot of mandates at Barnes and Noble and drink my own coffee that I bought and tell everyone how the world should be, and then watch them go out and execute. You're right. Yes, I'm going to start to be tougher about that too. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that's
all I got. How about you?
Now I got nothing.
All right. Remember, until next time at the beach,
it's happy hour whenever you say it is.